Welcome to a DK Custom Products video. This video is about a 2019 Tri-Glide. We're going to be talking about cams, exhaust note, old school lope, miles per gallon, dyno tuning, Danny controls, and much more. My name is Kevin. I'm the K in DK Custom Products, and we took a couple of bikes down to DC Cycle and Racing in Red Bay, Alabama. And this video is about the Tri-Glide that we put on the dyno and looked at several things, did some dyno tuning, and we're going to share what we learned with our time with David Crane at DC Cycle and Racing. So this might be surprising to some, but we got 101 horsepower and 124 foot-pounds of torque out of this 2019 Tri-Glide. And that's some pretty amazing numbers for a Tri-Glide that has all the extra parasitic drag of the Trike drivetrain and the two big tires on the dyno there for additional rolling resistance. Trikes always come in with less horsepower and torque than two-wheel bikes, everything else being equal. So stay tuned through to the end of this video. We're going to show the charts on the power and how nice and flat it is. But before we get into that, I want to let you know that we started this trike out with a strong foundation, a good stage one, actually a great stage one, that is free-flowing intake, free-flowing exhaust with no reversion. It had a mediocre tune at the beginning of the day and it had a good tune at the end of the day. And we also controlled the heat. We have a lot of things done to control the heat because the cooler the intake and the cooler that the engine is running to a point, the stronger it's going to run. So here is a little clip of it on the dyno. So before we get into what we experienced there, why were we even there? Why did we need a tune? Well, back quite a few months ago, I had a new fuel pump installed, a new cam plate installed, and while we were there, I said, well, why don't I go ahead and put a cam in there as long as we're there? I already had more power than I needed, but since we were there, why not put a cam in? And so here's a little clip of Jamie, who put the cam in, talking about why he chose that cam. And I deferred to him. I said, just give me a cam that has a good old school lope to it and a cam that has lots of low end torque. And so here's what he has to say about that. I asked Jamie what his recommendations were, and he recommended the Max Cell 818H, and he's going to tell you all why he recommends that, what to expect from it, what it's good for.
I'll start by saying that this is my choice. I could have gotten a free cam for this job for the promotion. This gentleman chose not to donate because he don't feel like he needs to. So I'm saying that to say that even though that we're paying for this cam and lifters, this is still my choice to go in this motorcycle. This cam is head and shoulders above anything else on the market right now. The sound, the low end power, it actually is designed to run a little cooler.
So one of the main things I wanted the very civilized Milwaukee 8 sound to go away, and I wanted to have an old school lope. And if I could gain some extra power, that was great. I already was pleased with the power, so that's not what I was after. What I was after was a more traditional Harley sound. So here you can hear it before the cam was installed and after the cam was installed. So let's take a listen to what it sounded like 2 weeks ago. Here's a video video that we just recorded this morning. So that sound is exactly what I was after. In fact, it's better. I didn't think it would be that good. And I was very, very pleased with the sound. And I rode it for thousands of miles after that cam was put in. And I was very pleased with the very significant increase in power. Now, the tune that was put in there at the same time as the cam was a canned tune by Jamie. And I don't know where he got it from, but it was a can tune, and then he did some street tuning with it, and that was that. I didn't know if it was a good tune, a bad tune. I assumed it was a good tune because there was just a big increase in power, and I was very pleased with the power. I was very pleased with how it sounded. But then a few months ago, I realized I was not getting good miles per gallon. I was getting really bad miles per gallon. And usually when you get bad miles per gallon, it's indicative of a bad tune. So since there are no canned maps for the 818H cam for a Trike with RDRS, this is a 2019, I didn't have a choice but to put it on the dyno. So we put it on the dyno, and let's look at this first chart. This is what we have here. It shows a partial DK stage 1 foundation because we had free-flowing air cleaner, we had free-flowing exhaust with no reversion, we had the cooling components, and we had a tune in it, but turns out the tune was not so good, and it was actually a bad tune. And you can see even with that, it was generating 93.3 horsepower and 117.96, 118 foot-pounds of torque. And you can see that here, and there's some squiggles in it and some up and down. So, you know, it's not, the chart doesn't show it being a great tune. What really showed it that it wasn't a good tune was how bad miles per gallon I was getting. Now, the other thing, you see right here where we have an arrow saying torque-based ETC causing the drop. So this is something that we've only learned about recently, but it's been out there. A lot of people have known about it for years. We've only learned about it recently. And that is when Harley started doing the RDRS, they started doing a torque model in the calibration, in the tune. They were using a torque model, and that torque model is literally used to facilitate nanny controls. And so I'm going to read what it is, because instead of me meandering around talking about it, this is a really good, succinct description. With a torque-based calibration, the ECM effectively delivers fuel, spark timing, and electronic throttle control based on a torque model. What this means is the ECM follows the torque model while monitoring engine load, RPM, twist grip, and other inputs, and it essentially determines how much power it is going to allow. So when you see this drop on this chart, where it dropped down substantially at like what, 5,100 RPM, this is not because the throttle was let off. This is not because it ran out of air or it ran out because the exhaust was too restricted. This is because Harley's saying, hey, we don't want you to lose traction, so we're going to cut power. And it's a nanny control. And I'll read you a little bit more about some of the reason for it. This is done for several reasons: as a means to reduce throttle sensitivity and abruptness, to reduce driveline shock load and stress, and to limit power output when necessary. When is it necessary? I guess it's necessary when you don't know how to ride and you think that the computer is going to know better how much throttle to give than you. So obviously that was one of our goals. This chart shows how the bike arrived at the dyno, and one of our goals was to get rid of that nanny control in there. So again, because there is I could not find a good can tune for the 818H cam in a 2019 Tri-Glide, we put it on the dyno. And so we just finished looking at the horsepower and torque charts of when it arrived, and then David spent some time on the dyno cleaning up the tune. And again, this has free-flowing intake, free-flowing exhaust, full complement of cooling mods. And then let's look at the chart here where all of that got tuned out. You'll notice, number one, it's now 101 horsepower, 101.44 horsepower, and 124.29 foot-pounds of torque. And you notice how smooth the line is, and there's no more chopping it off at 5100 RPM with the nanny control. It's a nice smooth line. And you also notice that the AFR down below is very nice, bouncing around between 12 and 13 to 1 AFR. So very nice line, very nice increase in power. Let's look at the two charts combined. So we see the torque-based ETC that was causing the drop. It's not there anymore. And we see everywhere along the line, everywhere, whether it be horsepower or torque, the entire power band, it is anywhere from 10 to 25% more power. And so we're up at 117 foot-pounds of torque at 2300 RPM. This is amazing. And Mary and I have been out riding on it since we got this back from the dyno, and the power in it is just absolutely amazing. It still sounds great. The lope is still there. And so I can't say enough good things about what a nice job that David Crane did on this tune. And I would encourage you, if you are looking at doing a cam, do a good foundation for your stage 2 first, and then be very aware of the nanny controls in there if you have a RDRS bike that is chopping the power, and there's nothing that you can do about it other than tune it out. It doesn't matter how much you twist the throttle, it's going to hold it back.
And then I got RDRS and everything turned back on, and adjusted the torque limiter tables and max throttle tables.
Cool.
This is where on the torque tables, you got to really watch to get too carried away with those. But all we're wanting to do is adjust it so that we're getting full throttle when we're asking for full throttle. No more is what we're asking for, kind of deal. And that's what all this was. Now you can see that it's pulling everything out to the end nice and smooth. So other big thing is right here, this is our riding area. So I'm just going to go to 25. From 25 it went from 97 foot-pounds of torque to 117. So roughly 20 foot-pounds of torque where you're actually riding the bike. That would be fuel mileage and other stuff. It's so much more efficient right there now. And that's just a wide open throttle. The red line was before, and the blue line is now. It had such a lean spot there that it was off the chart.
But there he is explaining that, and it's something that is just a normal course of his tuning on RDRS bikes. So pretty phenomenal performing Tri-Glide here, between the good foundation, between having the cam put in that is a low RPM, low to mid-range RPM torque cam. You do see that the torque does, even though it's a nice flat line, you see that the torque does start dropping around 4,200 RPM. I rarely am up at that RPM, but even if I am, it's still over, it doesn't drop below 110 foot-pounds until right before 5,000 RPM. And of course, the horsepower is continuing to rise all the way until 5,000 RPM. So it's what I wanted. This is not what Devin, the D and DK, would want. He likes high RPM and a lot of speed. I like low RPM torque, and I like to accelerate quickly, but I'm not really into riding at sustained 100-mile-an-hour plus speeds. So this did exactly what I wanted. It's been done in steps. Good stage 1 first, then a cam, and then sort of a bad tune, and now a good tune. And it's putting out as much power. It's putting out almost as much power as a lot of the 131s out there in tri-glides. And so I'm very, very pleased with it. I can't wait to race Chuck again. He has a 131 in his. If you've enjoyed this video or found it useful, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it with your friends. I think they'll be surprised how much power you can get out of a 114 Generation 1 Milwaukee 8 on a tri-glide. Hit that notification bell so you know when the next video comes out. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please consider doing that. It helps us out a lot and it doesn't cost you anything. If you have any questions about the different parts that are on the tri-glide, don't hesitate to email us at support@dkcustomproducts.com or give us a call at 662-252-8828. Y'all ride safe out there.